What if I told you right now? You don't live in objective reality, but inside your own matrix. Not a sci-fi one like in the movie, but an inner one built from your beliefs, memories, fears, and habits. Every reaction you have, every choice you make, even what you consider possible or impossible, is already written in your code. This intricate code functions much like a hidden operating system that you have never before encountered or seen, but which comprehensively controls absolutely everything within its domain. Today, we're going to reveal how this code creates your default life. And most importantly, how you can rewrite it. And at the end, I'll show you one archetypal key that changes not just your perception, but the very trajectory of your life. Are you ready to look inside your own matrix? We're used to thinking that our thoughts are us, that our character and habits are a natural part of our personality. But here's the paradox. Most of what you call yourself isn't actually you. It's the voices of your parents, echoes from school, society's expectations, scars from childhood traumas, and even random phrases that once got stuck in your memory. These are programs written by others. Now imagine, your whole life, you've been acting according to someone else's code. And you don't even truly realize that your perceived limits were actually set by someone else, perhaps without your full awareness. That's why millions of people feel like they're trapped in a cage, even though the walls of that cage are invisible. You believe in limitations that don't actually exist. But what if, right now, what you think is impossible is actually possible? Imagine you're walking down a hallway, its walls built from your memories, the words and glances of those around you. Some doors are open. These are the opportunities that seem real to you. Others are closed, and you don't even approach them because you're sure that door isn't for me. But that's only because someone once told you that's how things work. And that's your own personal matrix. It wasn't created by you, but by the people and circumstances around you. Parents, school, society, culture, each one added their own lines of code. And it's this very code that controls your choices. Think about how many times you've told yourself, I don't have the talent, it's too late, that's impossible. But where did those words come from? Are they really yours? Or is it someone else's voice that once took up residence in your head? Take myths as an example. In Plato's cave, people spent their whole lives seeing only shadows on the wall and mistook them for reality. But as soon as one person stepped outside, he realized his entire world had been an illusion. In the same way, Buddha lived in the luxury of a palace until he saw suffering beyond its walls. And in the movies, Neo lived in his familiar world until a glitch in the system opened his eyes. These stories aren't just ancient legends or filmmakers' fantasies. They're mirrors. They show that everyone goes through a moment when they start to question the world around them. Suddenly, you see a crack in your familiar picture of the world, and everything that once seemed certain starts to waver. In science, this is confirmed by the phenomenon of neuroplasticity. Our brain changes under the influence of experience. It literally forms new pathways, new routes. But if we keep repeating the same old thoughts, I can't do it, I always mess up, then we reinforce those old connections. Now, imagine a real-life situation. Two students are about to take an exam. The first one is convinced that he's weak. He stumbles, loses his train of thought, and forgets the obvious. The second one thinks, I prepared, I can handle this. And even if he makes a mistake, he keeps answering confidently. Who will get the higher score? Obviously, it's the same exam, but two different results. It all comes down to the code. Or here's another example. In business, two people launch the same project. The first one is already thinking, it probably won't work out. The market is oversaturated. The second one thinks, yeah, it's tough, but I'll try 10 different ways. Even with everything else being completely equal and perfectly aligned, the second person will undoubtedly go much further, because their entire program of thought looks for effective and lasting solutions, not merely superficial excuses. That's exactly why millions of people feel like they're trapped in a cage. Even though the walls of that cage are invisible. Do you believe in limits that don't actually exist? But those limits are just code that was once uploaded into your mind. Have you ever noticed this in yourself? If you recognize yourself in these examples, give this a like. That'll show that we're on the right path together. Now, let's talk about how to break out of this matrix and start rewriting your own code. The first thing you need to do is notice when the program kicks in. Next time you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, or this isn't for me, stop right there. Ask yourself, is this really a fact, or just an old program that's been running for years? For example, you want to talk to someone you like, but inside you hear, they'll just reject me anyway. Stop and tell yourself, this isn't a prediction, it's just an old recording in my head. Just realizing this alone creates a break in the old code. The second step is to understand the source. Where does this program come from? Maybe it goes all the way back to your childhood. Maybe someone at school once mocked you, saying you couldn't speak in public, and now every time you need to say something, that program starts running again. But if you know its source, you already understand, this isn't you. It's someone else's voice, left behind in your memory. The third step is creating new programs. The brain's neuroplasticity is your ally. When you repeat new thoughts, reinforce them with images and small actions, new connections form in your brain. For example, if you used to think, "I'm not a leader," start with a new mindset. "I'm learning to lead others." And reinforce it with a simple action. Suggest an idea in a conversation, help a colleague, or take responsibility for a small project. Each of these actions creates a new pathway in your brain. Think about sports. When you train a muscle, it's hard at first, but over time the movement becomes second nature. It's exactly the same with your thoughts. A new mindset feels foreign at first, but then it becomes natural. Here's another example. Imagine a musician learning a new melody. The first attempts are full of mistakes, but with repetition, the melody starts to sound clear. It's the same with your code. Every time you choose a new thought and action, you strengthen a new pathway. That's how a new you is born, not through a sudden revelation, but through constant, small rewrites of your code. When your internal programming changes, your external world changes too. You start to notice opportunities you never saw before. You hear words of support where before you only picked up on criticism. You try something new and are surprised when it actually starts to work. Has this ever happened to you? When you took a significant and challenging step that once seemed utterly impossible to achieve, and then suddenly, your entire reality gracefully adjusted itself to accommodate this new accomplishment. Share your experience in the comments. Your story could be a clue for someone else. Every day, you're either reinforcing old programs or creating new ones. You don't have to live by someone else's script. You can create your own. And that's where your true strength is born. When a person starts to rewrite their inner code, at first it feels like they've won. Old beliefs crumble, new thoughts and actions appear, and everything around you starts to change. You feel light, inspired, as if you've finally broken free. But it's at this very moment that something happens, something almost no one talks about. The real test is only just beginning. In myths, the hero always faces this. He has his moment of victory. He finds the sword, fights the monster, breaks free from captivity. But after that, there's always a new, deeper challenge. Hercules defeats the lion, but there are still 11 more labors ahead. Buddha leaves the palace, but ahead lie years of inner struggle beneath the Bodhi tree. Neo in The Matrix realizes the truth, but then faces a choice that will determine the fate of the entire world. The same thing happens in our own lives. When you successfully break free from old, restrictive patterns, a significant space of true freedom and new possibilities opens up before you. And that sounds beautiful, but in reality, it's terrifying. Because before, at least you had some kind of script. It might have been limiting, it might have been heavy, but at least it was understandable. And now, there is no script. There are countless doors in front of you, and you have to choose for yourself. This is the paradox of freedom. Most people think they want freedom. But when they get it, they get scared and run back to their familiar walls. They go back to the old matrix, because even though it hurts there, at least it's familiar. This is where the main question arises. Are you truly ready to be free? Are you truly ready to live your life without any pre-written rules or guidelines? Without someone else's programs, without guarantees. It's at this very crucial and pivotal moment that it's truly decided whether your entire life will genuinely become a brand new and exciting story, or if you'll unfortunately remain a perpetual prisoner of the old, familiar one. At the very beginning, I told you, today we're going to try to look into your matrix and find the key that can change not only your perception, but also the trajectory of your life. And now we've come to that moment. This key is simple, but not obvious. You are not your programs. You are the one who can see them, analyze them, and rewrite them. You are the architect, not the cat. You are the author, not just a line in the script. When you understand this, you no longer identify yourself with the voice of doubt or the fear inside. Yes, they still speak. Yes, they show up again. But now you know, they're just old recordings that can be erased or rewritten. And that's when strength appears. The strength to choose which thoughts to repeat. The strength to form new habits. The strength to rebuild yourself every day. Look at those who have stepped beyond the old matrix. The stories of great people always begin with them refusing to live by someone else's rules. Einstein rejected the school's idea of time and created a new physics. Malala Yousafzai broke through the programming of fear and became the voice of millions of girls who were forbidden to study. Steve Jobs destroyed the program that said a computer is a boring machine and turned it into a tool for creativity. Each of them did the same thing. They stopped believing in the old code and created a new one. Maybe your step won't be a world-changing discovery or a revolution, but for you, it will be just as important because it will be your revolution, your liberation, your awakening. Ask yourself, what is the one thought, the one pattern that has held me back for years? And what new code am I ready to put in its place today? Maybe it's just the words, I can, but those words will change your entire trajectory. You don't have to live by someone else's script. You can create your own. And that's where your true freedom is revealed. And subscribe so you don't lose this thread. Because directly ahead of us lie even deeper, more intricate levels, and working together, we can certainly get through each and every one of them. And if you happen to have a dear friend who is truly stuck in their old, ingrained patterns, please consider sharing this insightful video with them, as it might offer some valuable perspective. Perhaps this particular key will be the very one for them, the one they have been patiently waiting for such a long time, or the one that will truly change everything completely someday in the future. We started with the idea that you live in your own matrix, and we're ending with the fact that the door is always open. The only question is, will you take that step? Thank you for staying until the end. You know, it means so much more than just watching the video to the end. This is a sign that you're ready to go deeper and look for answers, or to try something new. I want you to leave here not just with ideas, but with a feeling. You're not alone on this journey. Each of us has our own matrix, and each of us overcomes it step by step. And that takes courage. We'll meet again. And maybe, next time, you'll feel for yourself how your new code comes to life. See you soon. See you in the next video. And always remember this, you don't just merely perceive the world around you, you actively create it yourself.